Welcome to Mythic Universe. I am honored to be your partner on this exploration into the very center of who you are. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in a self-driving car. The car is speeding down the highway, turning wheels, changing gears, and avoiding obstacles. It seems to know exactly what it is doing. But are you driving the car, or is the car driving you? This is the exact situation you face every single morning. You wake up inside a biological machine called the body, equipped with a supercomputer called the brain. Science tells us that the machine runs the show, but deep down, you feel like the pilot. You feel like there is a you that is separate from the wiring. Today, we are going to dismantle the cockpit of human consciousness. We are going to ask the most dangerous question in neuroscience. Are you the brain, or are you the energy that drives it? Part 1. The machine in the skull. Let us begin by looking at the hardware. The human brain is widely considered the most complex object in the known universe. Inside your skull, there are roughly 86 billion neurons. Each one of these neurons is connected to thousands of others, creating a network of trillions of connections. It is a biological city that never sleeps, constantly firing electrical signals and exchanging chemical messengers. For the last century, the dominant view in science has been that this machine creates you. The theory is that your thoughts, your feelings, your memories, and your personality are simply the byproducts of this electrical activity. In this view, the mind is not a separate thing. It is just what the brain does, much like pumping is what the heart does. This materialist perspective leads to a startling conclusion. It implies that you are a biological robot. It suggests that every thought you have ever had was determined by the chemistry of your cells and the laws of physics. When you chose to click on this video, you didn't really choose it. Your neurons fired in a specific pattern based on your past conditioning and your current environment, and that firing moved your finger. In this model, free will is an illusion. It is a story the brain tells itself after the action has already happened. It implies that there is no driver in the seat, just a complex algorithm reacting to the world. However, this mechanistic explanation clashes violently with your actual lived experience. When you sit in silence and observe your thoughts, you create a separation. There is the thought, and there is the one watching the thought. If you were only your brain, how could you possibly observe your own programming? It would be like a computer screen trying to watch itself. We feel an undeniable sense of agency. We feel that we can override our instincts. We can choose to fast when we are hungry. We can choose to stay calm when we are angry. We can force the machine to do things it does not want to do. This sensation of being a user of the brain suggests that the relationship is not one way. Think of it like a piano and a pianist. The brain is the piano. It is the instrument that makes the music possible. If the strings are broken or the keys are stuck, the music will be distorted. We see this in brain injuries, where damage to the physical tissue changes a person's personality. This proves that the mind is dependent on the brain, but it does not prove that the mind is the brain. A broken piano does not mean the pianist is dead. It just means the pianist has no way to express the music. We are here to investigate the pianist. We are here to see if there is a consciousness that exists distinct from the keys and strings of your biology. We are setting the stage for a battle between the determinism of matter and the freedom of the mind.
Part 2. The reducing valve. To understand how the mind might operate independently of the brain, we need to completely flip our understanding of what the brain actually does. We usually assume the brain is a generator. We think it takes raw sensory data and manufactures a picture of reality, just like a movie projector creates an image on a screen. But in the late 19th century, the father of American psychology, William James, proposed a radically different idea. He suggested that the brain might not be a producer of consciousness, but rather a transmitter of it. He argued that the mind exists as a vast, pre-existing field, and the brain acts as a filter, allowing only a tiny trickle of that mind to flow through into your awareness. Think of it like a television set. When you watch a show, the pictures and sound seem to be coming from the box. If you damage the wiring inside the TV, the picture gets fuzzy or disappears. A scientist looking at this might conclude that the TV creates the show, but we know that is not true. The show is being broadcast as a signal through the air. The TV is simply a mechanism for catching that signal and decoding it. If the brain works in a similar way, then your individual personality is just a specific channel that your biology is tuned into. The death of the brain would not be the end of the signal, but simply the breaking of the receiver. But why would the brain need to filter consciousness? Why wouldn't it just let everything in? The answer lies in evolution. The philosopher Aldous Huxley called the brain a reducing valve. He argued that if we perceived the true nature of reality all the time, we would be overwhelmed. We would be sensing the atomic structure of the air, the emotional states of everyone around us, and the interconnected web of the cosmos. While that sounds beautiful, it is terrible for survival. If you are contemplating the oneness of the universe, you are not noticing the tiger hiding in the bushes. To keep you alive, your brain has to shut out 99% of reality. It forces you to focus only on what is useful for survival in the physical world. This theory explains some bizarre medical phenomena that the production theory cannot. There is a condition known as terminal lucidity, where patients with severe brain damage or advanced dementia suddenly regain their full memories and personality hours before death. Their brains are physically destroyed, filled with plaques and tangles. According to the production theory, a broken machine should not be able to produce a clear signal. But if the brain is a filter, this makes sense. As the brain begins to shut down and the filter disintegrates, the resistance to the signal drops. The consciousness floods back in, bright and clear, because the mechanism that was limiting it has finally stopped working. This suggests that your brain is not what gives you consciousness, it is what limits you to being just a human.
Part 3. The Architect of the Brain. If the brain were truly the master of the house, we would expect it to be a rigid, unchangeable ruler. For a long time, that is exactly what science believed. We thought that once you reached adulthood, your neural pathways were set in stone. You had the brain you were born with, and if it was damaged or flawed, there was nothing to be done. But in recent decades, we have discovered something miraculous. The brain is not like porcelain, it is like plastic. It is constantly molding, reshaping, and rewiring itself based on experience. This phenomenon is called neuroplasticity. While this is a biological fact, it raises a profound philosophical question. Who exactly is doing the rewiring? Consider the work of psychiatrist Jeffrey Schwartz, who works with patients suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD. In a person with OCD, a specific part of the brain called the caudate nucleus gets stuck. It fires a mistake signal over and over again, causing the person to feel an intense urge to wash their hands or check the locks. It is a mechanical glitch, a broken gear in the machine. If the mind were just a byproduct of the brain, the person would have no choice but to obey the signal. They would be a slave to their own biology. However, Dr. Schwartz taught his patients to do something remarkable. He taught them to use their conscious awareness to observe the urge without acting on it. He told them to label the thought. They would say to themselves, "This is not me, this is just my brain glitching." By consistently refusing to obey the neural signal and by focusing their attention on something else, they physically changed their brains. Brain scans taken months later showed that the overactive caudate nucleus had calmed down. The wiring had changed. This is a stunning reversal of the materialist worldview. It is not matter changing mind, it is mind changing matter. This process is known as self-directed neuroplasticity. It implies that attention is not just a passive spotlight, it is an active force. When you focus your mind intently on a specific thought or skill, you are essentially directing the traffic of energy in your skull. You are telling the neurons where to connect and where to disconnect. You are the gardener, and the neural networks are the vines. If you water the vines of gratitude, they grow thick and strong. If you neglect the vines of anxiety, they wither and die. The brain provides the soil, but your consciousness decides what grows. This leads us to a powerful conclusion about the relationship between you and your biology. You are not the victim of your brain. You are the architect of it. The habits, the fears, and the emotional patterns that seem hardwired into you are simply the result of past attention. They are the paths that the water has flowed down for years. But you have the power to dig a new canal. It requires effort, repetition, and a force of will that seems to come from somewhere beyond the physical tissue. It suggests that the driver can indeed upgrade the car while it is still moving down the highway. Part 4. The Mind Beyond the Body. So far, we have looked at how the mind can influence the brain. But what happens when the mind seems to leave the brain entirely? If consciousness is produced by neurons, then it should be impossible for you to perceive anything outside the range of your physical senses. You should only be able to see what your eyes see and hear what your ears hear. But there is a mountain of evidence, often dismissed by mainstream science, that suggests the mind is not confined to the skull. It suggests that consciousness is non-local. It can stretch, expand, and travel beyond the boundaries of the body. The most famous examples of this are near-death experiences, or NDEs. Millions of people around the world, across different cultures and religions, have reported eerily similar experiences when they were clinically dead. Their hearts stopped, their brain activity flatlined, yet they experienced a state of hyper-awareness. They report floating out of their bodies, looking down at the doctors working on them, and even moving through walls to see what was happening in other rooms. Skeptics argue that these are just hallucinations of a dying brain, but there are verified cases where patients reported specific details like the brand of sneakers a nurse was wearing or a conversation family members had in the waiting room that they could not possibly have known through biological means. Let us look at the case of Pam Reynolds, a singer who underwent a surgery to remove a giant aneurysm in her brain. To do this, doctors had to literally drain the blood from her head and cool her body to the point of suspended animation. Her brain waves were completely flat. Her eyes were taped shut. Her ears were plugged with speakers playing clicking sounds to monitor the brainstem. She was, by all medical standards, dead. Yet she reported hovering over her shoulder. She described the bone saw the surgeon used, which she had never seen before, comparing it to an electric toothbrush. She heard the song Hotel California playing in the operating room. All these details were later confirmed by the medical staff. How could a dead brain with zero electrical activity record and process this information? These events suggest that consciousness is not tethered to the brain like a light bulb is to a socket. It is more like a cloud-based signal. Your phone can be smashed, turned off, or submerged in water, but your data remains safe in the cloud. It seems that under extreme circumstances, when the biological receiver is compromised, the consciousness detaches and continues to function. It suggests that the driver can step out of the car and walk around. This challenges the very foundation of how we define life and death. If the mind can exist without the support of the brain, then the brain is merely a tool for navigating the physical world, not the creator of the self. Part 5. The Field of Memory. If the mind can exist outside the brain, where does it go? And more importantly, where are your memories stored? We usually imagine memory like a filing cabinet inside the hippocampus. We think that every time you remember your childhood home, you are pulling a file from a specific cluster of neurons. But for decades, scientists have been hunting for the physical location of memory, a search known as the hunt for the engram. They have cut out parts of rat brains trying to erase a specific maze they learned, but no matter what part they remove, the rats can still remember the maze. It is as if the memory is scattered everywhere and nowhere at the same time. This led the biologist Rupert Sheldrake to propose a controversial but fascinating theory. He suggested that memories are not stored in the brain at all. Instead, the brain acts as a tuning device that accesses a universal field of memory, which he calls the morphic field. Think of it like YouTube. The video you are watching right now is not stored inside your phone. Your phone is just streaming it from a server. If you buy a new phone and log in, your history is still there. Sheldrake argues that your brain is constantly tuning in to your own past self across time. This is why memory survives even when the molecules in your brain are completely replaced every few years. This theory also helps explain the phenomenon of collective consciousness. Have you ever noticed that when a new technology or idea appears, it seems to pop up in multiple places at once? Calculus was invented by Newton and Leibniz at the same time, independently. The telephone, the light bulb, and the theory of evolution all had multiple inventors working unaware of each other. Sheldrake suggests that once a problem is solved by one mind, it becomes easier for other minds to solve it. The solution gets uploaded to the species' morphic field. It becomes a shared resource. We are not just isolated thinkers, we are all tapping into a shared database of human experience. There is even evidence of this in the animal kingdom. In the 1920s, a specific group of birds in England called blue tits learned how to peel open the foil tops of milk bottles delivered to doorsteps to drink the cream. Within a few years, blue tits all over Europe were doing the same thing. They didn't migrate and teach each other. The knowledge seemed to jump across the continent. It suggests that minds are connected by invisible threads. If this is true, then your mind is not just a private generator, it is a node in a vast, invisible network. You are constantly uploading your life to the field and downloading wisdom from the past.
Part 6. The energy that drives. If we accept that the mind uses the brain rather than being created by it, we have to ask, what is the fuel? What is the energy source that allows a non-physical thought to move a physical neuron? This brings us to the mysterious intersection of physics and willpower. We know that energy cannot be created or destroyed, yet every time you make a conscious decision, like deciding to lift your arm, you are initiating a cascade of energy in your brain. A thought, which has no mass and no weight, somehow triggers a chemical explosion. This is the mind-body problem that has baffled philosophers since Descartes. Quantum physics offers us a clue. In the quantum world, observation affects reality. The act of measuring a particle changes its state. Some physicists, like Henry Stapp, argue that the conscious mind interacts with the brain at this quantum level. He suggests that the brain generates a cloud of possible actions, a quantum smear of maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that. The role of the conscious mind is to observe one of those possibilities, collapsing the wave function into a single, definite action. In this view, your will is not a force that pushes atoms around. It is a force that chooses which reality becomes real. It is the ultimate selector. This aligns with the experience of high-level athletes and meditators. They often describe a state of flow where effort disappears. They are not forcing their bodies to move, they are simply intending the result, and the body follows. It is as if the mind is a subtle energy field that guides the chaotic noise of the brain into a coherent signal. Think of a magnet and iron filings. The filings are the neurons, scattered and chaotic. The magnet is the mind. When the magnet descends, the filings snap into alignment. The mind provides the order, the brain provides the substance. This perspective empowers you in a radical way. It means that your mental state is the master control switch for your physical reality. When you are stressed, fearful, or negative, you are collapsing the quantum possibilities of your brain into a state of dis-ease and dysfunction. You are tuning your receiver to a static-filled channel. But when you cultivate focus, love, and intention, you are organizing your biology into a state of health and power. You are not just a passenger in the vehicle, you are the energy that decides where the vehicle goes. You are the spark that ignites the engine. The implication is that we have been looking for the driver in the wrong place. We have been dissecting the steering wheel and the transmission, trying to find the person. But the person is not in the car parts. The person is the invisible intent that moves them. You are not the 86 billion neurons. You are the unified field of awareness that dances through them. You are the ghost in the machine, and the machine obeys you.
Part 7. The illusion of the self. We have talked about the driver as if it were a tiny person sitting inside your head. We imagine a mini you, a homunculus, behind the eyes, pulling levers and pushing buttons. But if you look closely for this self, you will never find it. Neuroscience has scanned every inch of the brain. They have found the center for language, for vision, for fear, and for memory. But they have never found the center for you. There is no single spot in the brain where all the information comes together to be watched by a central ego. The brain is a decentralized parallel processor. It is a committee without a chairman. This scientific finding mirrors the ancient teaching of Buddhism known as anatta, or no self. The Buddha argued 2,500 years ago that what we call the self is just a bundle of changing processes. It is a collection of thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and memories that are constantly flowing like a river. There is no solid rock in the river. There is only the flow. When you say, "I am angry," you are making a mistake. The anger is just a weather pattern passing through the sky of your awareness. You are not the anger. You are the space in which the anger happens. So, if there is no little person in the head, who is the driver? The answer is both terrifying and liberating. The driver is not a thing. The driver is awareness itself. It is the pure capacity to know. When you strip away your name, your job, your history, and your body, what is left? Just a silent, open presence. A sense of I am. This presence has no shape, no age, and no location. It is the canvas upon which the movie of your life is projected. The mistake we make is identifying with the movie instead of the screen. This realization shifts the battle of mind versus brain. It is not a battle between two objects. It is a battle between identification and observation. When you are lost in thought, you are identified with the brain. You are the machine running on autopilot. You are reacting, judging, and fearing. But when you become aware of the thought, you step back into the position of the witness. You become the consciousness behind the machine. This is the true meaning of free will. Free will is not the ability to control every thought that pops up. It is the freedom to not be swept away by them. It is the freedom to watch the car drive itself for a moment and then gently take the wheel when necessary.
Part 8. The biology of belief. If the mind is the driver and the brain is the vehicle, then our beliefs are the GPS. What you believe about yourself and the world sets the destination. Science has shown us that belief is not just a fluffy, abstract concept. It is a biological command. The most powerful demonstration of this is the placebo effect. If you give a sick person a sugar pill, but tell them it is a powerful medicine, their brain will often produce the actual chemicals needed to heal the body. They will release natural painkillers, lower their blood pressure, and even shrink tumors. The belief alone triggers the pharmacy inside the brain. This proves that the software, the mind, can rewrite the hardware, the body. But the opposite is also true. This is called the nocebo effect. If you believe something will hurt you, it often will. If a doctor tells a patient they have 3 months to live, that patient often dies exactly on time, not because the disease killed them, but because their mind shut down the body's defenses. They accepted the command. This reveals the terrifying power of the driver. We are constantly feeding our brains instructions. I am weak. I am anxious. I am not good enough. Your brain, being the obedient machine it is, says, okay, and creates the chemistry to match that reality. The epigenetics pioneer Bruce Lipton argues that our genes are not our destiny. For a long time, we thought we were victims of our DNA. If your father had heart disease, you would get it too. But Lipton showed that genes are just blueprints. A blueprint doesn't build a house, a contractor does. The environment of the cell determines which genes get turned on and which get turned off. And what controls the environment of the cell? The blood. And what controls the chemistry of the blood? The brain. And what controls the brain? The mind. Your perception of the world, whether you see it as a safe place or a hostile place, literally changes the readout of your genetic code. This means you are not a victim of your biology, you are a victim of your perception. The driver has been driving with a dirty windshield, seeing monsters where there are only shadows. By cleaning the windshield, by changing your beliefs and your perceptions, you can change the very biology of your body. You can turn off genes for disease and turn on genes for health. You can rewire the neural pathways of anxiety into pathways of confidence. The machine is powerful, yes, but the operator has the codes. The challenge is that most of us are sleeping at the wheel, letting the old programs run the show. It is time to wake up and take control of the navigation.
Part 9. The feedback loop. We have established that the mind drives the brain, but we must also acknowledge that the brain fights back. This is not a one-way street, it is a feedback loop. The brain is a survival engine, evolved over millions of years to keep you safe, fed, and reproducing. It prefers the known to the unknown. It loves habits, because habits conserve energy. When you try to change your life, when the driver tries to turn the wheel, the machine resists. It screams, "No, we have always gone this way. This way is safe." This is why change is so hard. It is a battle between your conscious intention and your biological inertia. This resistance manifests as the flinch. It is that moment of hesitation when you want to speak up, start a project, or break a bad habit. Your brain floods your body with cortisol, the stress hormone. It creates a physical sensation of fear. Most people interpret this feeling as stop. They think, I feel fear, so I must be doing something wrong. They let the machine win. But the awake driver interprets this feeling differently. They realize that the fear is just the sound of the engine revving. It is a sign that they are pushing the machine into new territory. Neuroscience calls this limbic friction. It is the energy cost of overcoming your old neural pathways. The good news is that this friction is temporary. If you push through the resistance, if you hold the steering wheel firm despite the shaking, the brain eventually adapts. It builds a new road. This is the mechanism of habit formation. Research suggests it takes about 66 days to install a new behavior. During that time, you are literally constructing new physical infrastructure in your skull. You are paving a new highway. Once it is built, the machine accepts the new route. The effort disappears. The new habit becomes the path of least resistance. Understanding this loop is the key to self-mastery. You stop waiting to feel like doing the hard work. You realize that the machine will never feel like doing it. The machine wants comfort. You, the driver, want growth. You have to be willing to override the dashboard warnings. You have to be willing to drive through the discomfort. Every time you do, you gain power. You prove to the brain who is really in charge. And slowly, the machine becomes a servant of your highest vision, rather than a prison of your past. Part 10. The collective operating system. If individual minds can influence their own brains, what happens when millions of minds synchronize? We are not just isolated drivers in separate cars. We are navigating a shared highway system. This system is culture. Culture is essentially a collective operating system running on the hardware of human brains. It is a shared set of beliefs, values, and stories that shapes how we perceive reality. Just as your personal beliefs program your biology, our collective beliefs program our society. And right now, our operating system is full of viruses. We are running a program of materialism, separation, and scarcity. We are told that we are accidental biological robots in a dog-eat-dog world. This story creates a society of fear, competition, and consumption. It creates a feedback loop where we build technologies and systems that reinforce our isolation. Social media, for example, is designed to hack the brain's dopamine reward system. It turns us into addicts, constantly scrolling for validation. It exploits the machine part of us to keep the driver asleep. We are being driven by algorithms that do not have our best interests at heart. But the power of the driver applies to the collective as well. If enough people wake up and change their internal settings, the external reality shifts. This is the concept of the 100th monkey effect, or a tipping point. When a critical mass of consciousness adopts a new worldview, it suddenly becomes the new normal. We have seen this with human rights, democracy, and environmental awareness. These were once radical ideas held by a few awake drivers. Now they are part of the global operating system. We are currently at a crossroads. We are building artificial intelligence that will soon surpass the processing power of the human brain. If we create AI while we are still asleep, while we still believe we are just meat robots fighting for survival, we will build a nightmare. We will build systems that amplify our worst instincts. But if we wake up to the truth that we are the consciousness behind the machine, we can build technology that serves the spirit. We can design a world that honors the driver, not just the vehicle. The next evolution of humanity is not about upgrading our bodies with metal. It is about upgrading our minds with wisdom.
Part 11. The Awakening. We have dismantled the car. We have seen that the brain is a receiver, not a producer. We have seen that the mind can rewire the brain, withstand death, and connect to a universal field. We have realized that the self is not a thing, but a space of awareness. Now, the final question remains: how do we stay awake? How do we remain in the driver's seat when the road gets rough and the machine wants to take over? The answer is practice. Awakening is not a one-time event, it is a moment-to-moment discipline. The most effective tool for this is mindfulness. This word has become a buzzword, but its true meaning is profound. Mindfulness is simply the act of noticing that you are driving. It is the pause between the stimulus and the response. When someone insults you, the machine wants to snap back. That is the automatic program. Mindfulness is the split second where you catch the reaction before it launches. In that tiny gap, you find your freedom. You can choose to breathe. You can choose to smile. You can break the pattern. Another tool is awe. When you stand under the stars, or look into a microscope, or hold a newborn baby, your brain quiets down. The chatter of the ego stops. The me dissolves into the wow. In these moments, you are fully present. You are pure awareness. This is why we seek out nature and art. They are reminders of our true nature. They pull us out of the simulation of the mind and back into the reality of the moment. They reboot the system. Finally, we must embrace the unknown. The machine hates uncertainty. It wants to predict and control everything. But the driver knows that life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. By stepping into the unknown, by taking risks, loving deeply, and questioning our assumptions, we keep the engine running hot.
We keep the brain flexible and young. We refuse to become fossilized robots. We choose to be alive. The goal is not to escape the car. The goal is to drive it with joy, with skill, and with purpose until the wheels fall off.
Part 12. The Final Drive. As we reach the end of this journey, look down at your hands again. Flex your fingers. Take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs. For the last hour, we have explored the possibility that you are more than just biology. We have looked at the science of neuroplasticity, the mystery of near-death experiences, and the power of belief. All of these point to one undeniable truth. You are not the car. You are the driver. You are the conscious energy that animates this body, experiences this life, and, perhaps, continues on when the ride is over. This is not just a philosophical comfort, it is a call to arms. If you are the driver, then you are responsible for the destination. You can no longer blame your genes, your past, or your brain chemistry for your unhappiness. Those are just the road conditions. You have the power to steer. You have the power to rewire your anxiety into courage. You have the power to tune your receiver to a frequency of gratitude and abundance. You have the power to override the fear of the machine and choose love. Imagine what your life would look like if you lived every day with this knowledge. Imagine if you treated your brain like a supercomputer that you program rather than a tyrant that enslaves you. Imagine if you saw every challenge not as a threat to your survival, but as a training ground for your spirit. You would move through the world with a quiet confidence. You would be less reactive and more creative. You would be free. The brain is a magnificent tool. It allows us to calculate, to plan, and to navigate the physical world, but it makes a terrible master. Do not let the tool run the user. Take the wheel. Own your mind. Drive your life towards the horizon of your highest potential, because the road is open, the engine is running, and the destination is entirely up to you. Thank you for driving with us on Mythic Universe. Until next time, keep your eyes on the road and your mind wide open.